All right, we are back, episode 117. What's up, everybody? We are consistent, and I'll say we are consistently late to our own show, which is kind of odd. I was thinking about that. I was like, we've never missed a day, but we have for sure missed our start time a handful of times. But at least you can count on
Yeah.
us to be dependable. So yeah, we're excited. Last week, when we were here, we were talking. Was last week the first week we started doing sales processes, or was that 2 weeks ago?
Last week was Focus, and the week before was Sales 1.0.
Okay, there we go. So week before Sales 1.0, people asked for a part two. People asked for a part three because I think they just knew how much into detail we were going to go. So I'm excited
Yeah.
about this. If you guys are brand new to the show, if you're brand new to the channel, welcome. My name is Marlon Johnson. This is Sam Singh. We are the host of the Think Big podcast. We have been going 117 episodes strong, never missing, never showing up on time. And we're here to deliver value. Today we're going to be talking about sales processes because if you're in business, you understand that the lifeblood of your business is marketing and sales. And quite frankly, it's sales even more than marketing, because if you can get people to come and you have their attention, but you can't convert, then you're going to be out of business soon. If you're not selling, if you're not producing income, you are going to eventually be out of business. In fact, the number one reason all businesses fail is because they are not making enough money. And so I'm excited to talk about this tonight. Sam's got a presentation. And Sam, how you feeling today, bro?
Dude, I'm good. I'm glad you feel good because you've been sick for the last week, maybe even a little bit more than a week. So I'm glad that you're back. I'm glad that you feel good because, dude, we can't miss. And I'm actually excited about today because episode 117, for anyone that knows, everyone who follows me should know that I'm a huge gamer. I grew up playing video games. I'm forever going to be a gamer. And my favorite video game of all time, it's going to be the Halo series. And why do I like Halo? Because Master Chief is Spartan 117. So today's special for me, guys, in that regard, in my little nerd way. But dude, I'm excited about today because everyone comes to me, and out of all the newbie questions I get, one of the most common ones that I get is going to be what script to use, right? What do you say? How do you say it? Is there a magic script? And the answer is there's never going to be a magic script. And we talked about this 2 weeks ago. And this is just a continuation of that discussion where we understand sales. It's about frameworks and it's about processes, and very, very loose, I would say, in that regard. And I think the stricter the sales, very often, the harder it is to really dial it in my opinion, at a massive scale as your entity keeps growing. And so what I want to do is share with people not the scripts, but the frameworks that businesses need to be following to close more real estate transaction. If you have a service-based business, like you do door-to-door, or you do lawn care, pest control, pool services, or anything else, you need to understand there's different sales frameworks that can be used, right? There is no one magic kind of one size fits all. And it's important for people to understand the differences, the nuances, and how to really grow them. And here's the funny thing, man. I think, bar none, the easiest when it comes down to the large frameworks of business, right? Business can be broken up into 6 core components. I talk about this very often. I would say the one that will have the easiest, very specifically, the easiest way to impact your business positively or negatively is in your marketing. You can go out of business really quickly by having too much marketing overhead by investing in crappy strategies. Or you can set yourself up to massively succeed and have very little overhead, give yourself a really high ROI potential. But that's the easiest thing to do, is optimize your marketing. That's my humble opinion. And I think most people who are at a really high level would share that, especially if you want to get to 7 figures plus. Now, if you're not at 7 figures, the lever that you should also congruently be focusing on is going to be sales, because a sales process, right, regardless of if your marketing is dialed in or not, your sales process can help you maintain a certain ROI, or maintain a profit margin, or maintain your ability to stay in business because you keep converting. It doesn't matter that your cost per lead was super high. You still got the sale, and that's all that matters. And at the end of the day, in the various portfolio businesses that I have amongst different niches, we are very analytical with understanding where our competition is at in their conversion rates, and what do we have to do to perform higher, close more deals, close more sellers, close more customers. And the cool thing is this: I talked about this on Instagram and on Facebook a little bit, and it blew up on Instagram, which is cool. one of my portfolio businesses in its niche is expected to close about a 10 to 12% rate. It's about 10 to 15, but really I think it's about a 10 to 12 is the average conversion rate someone would expect, or the competition, the big dogs in that industry expect. Cool thing with us is we're actually averaging 46% on conversion rate. And that's not over like a sample size of 10 people. That's on a sample size over the last 3 months, over 400 transactions. So that's not a small group. That's a healthy amount of data. It's a healthy amount of transactions and money flowing in the business for us to know where we're at. And here's the cool thing. Our sales frameworks that we follow are actually dynamic. And they have to be dynamic for where we're at. But here's the interesting thing, guys. I want everyone to understand this. When you are starting off, because you don't have delegation, because you don't have a team, because you don't have all of these fancy systems and processes to lean on, right? When you are the closer, you have to do everything in your sales capacity to be able to get that person to sign on the dotted line, right? We get that. That's why a good closer really can. We know people who in sales, they will have no systems, no CRM, no nothing, and they'll still make 6 figures a year just because they know how to talk on the phone dynamically, right? Here's the interesting thing though. The more your organization grows, the more revenue you want to make, guess what ends up happening to that sales process? Do you think it becomes more dynamic? Do you think it becomes more complicated? No, the actual opposite happens where it becomes more simplified. And this is what I want everyone to understand. This is why sales in the beginning, I think people feel like there's an air of magic to it. Because in the beginning, you start looking at these phenomenal closers and they're phenomenally dynamic in their sales processes and their frameworks they use and how they pitch things and tonality they put. Like they are super talented. Here's the thing though. When you go start playing ball with businesses that are doing 8 figures plus a year, Marlon, you talk to a lot of companies where they're doing 8 figures, 9 figures in revenue, and you talk to a sales rep on the phone. How often have you been disappointed at that individual salesperson's talent?
Yeah, you're not talking to somebody who's like this gifted wonder child. You're like, what you hear from them, it's like, this is very duplicatable.
That's the word. It's duplicatable, right? And so when you start getting bigger with your enterprise, what ends up happening is your sales process becomes less and less and less dynamic. It becomes shorter. It actually becomes worse in a 1-to-1 ratio, which means if you only had one call and that was your chance to save the world, that framework may not be great, right? If you only had one lead and you're trying to like not go homeless and you need to close that one lead, those processes suck. But if you're generating 1,000 leads a month, you need something that's duplicatable. You need something that's delegable, which literally means your ability to delegate it to a team of people. And so what we're going to do today is 2 weeks ago, we went over Sandler Submarine, which is kind of tried and true, the way that people approach real estate sales psychology. Here's the funny thing, guys. Out of every team and mentor that I've ever met, coach that I've ever met, who is legitimately doing over 7 figures a month in real estate, not a single one of them follows Sandler Submarine. And that goes against it's very counterintuitive because in our ecosystems, very often, we treat that like the holy grail of sales. But the bigger you get, the simpler it needs to be because you need to be able to teach it to other people. And the problem with Sandler Submarine and the problem with one of the ones that we're going to go over today is it requires, generally speaking, a higher degree of aptitude to perform. And so when you can get to the point where you can generate 1,000 leads a month, you don't need to have extreme talent on your team. You need a process that is repeatable and enforceable. And the problem with Sandler, and one of the ones that we're going to go over today, even though I think it's phenomenal, I think it's actually the best one in real estate specifically, it's extremely difficult to scale. And then the last one we're going to talk about, the second one that we're going to talk about today, is going to be the one that I think a lot of people need to pay a lot more attention to because the best in the world follow it. And no one understands that. And I've literally been a hound getting into people's funnels, having conversations with not like low ticket products, extremely high. I mean, 6-figure price tag products. And you'll be shocked at how simple the sales process they used are, and very non-dynamic in that regard. So let's go ahead and share, man.
Yep. Cool. Can you see that?
Okay, guys. Let's get through this one. We passed that one. Yep, we passed Sandler. We talked about Sandler the other week. Cool, guys. This one is called NEPQ. Okay. I don't know if there's like a way to actually say that outside of just saying NEPQ, but this framework was founded by Jeremy Miner. And you guys, Marlon, you know about Jeremy Lee Miner, right?
I do not know.
Oh, really? Okay, guys. Everyone who wants to get better at sales, I promise you, go to Instagram, follow Jeremy Lee Miner. In my opinion, one of the best sales trainers I've ever seen. Ever. You guys want to find that balance between how do we be articulate and nuanced, also control and command the narrative in a call without being a sleazy sales guy, right? I don't think anyone navigates that path better than Jeremy that I've seen personally. Jeremy Lee Miner is phenomenal. And so NEPQ stands for the Neuro-Emotional Persuasion Questioning Method, which sounds like a lot. And it sounds super complicated, and I totally get it. It's basically the ninja way, and this is where you take someone with high aptitude, and then you amplify them. Guys who follow this can individually perform 10 times better than everyone else. But we're going to get into why I think this model works really, really, really well, depending on the size of your business. But if you want to go super, super, super big, we may want to pivot to a different model. So that's another thing, guys. When you're just getting started, I like Sandler Submarine for when you're just getting started in sales. And then eventually, I think you're going to get to a point in your experience level, in your revenue level, where you should maybe forego Sandler and adopt the NEPQ model. And then eventually at a certain scale, we're actually going to go towards a different model. That's just my take. And so obviously founded by Jeremy Miner. Guys, I'm not selling you guys an affiliate or anything like that, but yes, he does have a program for it. You can check it out. There is a real estate specific one too, based on NEPQ, but we're going to dive into a little bit about it. So guys, it is all about building trust. And here's the key. In a lot of sales processes, what's going to end up happening is you're going to go either transactional on one side. Now I should actually start with this. A lot of people don't realize that a sales conversation, regardless of the process, regardless of the script, there's two sides of the spectrum. There is the transactional sale on one extreme, and then you have what's called the diagnostic sale on the other extreme. And the transactional sale, it's low ticket. It's here's a Snickers bar. It costs $1. It's made of chocolate and it tastes great. Here you go. Buy it. That's it. That is a transactional sale. Retail, physical goods. When you go to Costco, when you go to Target, that's all transactional sales. Super simple. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we've got what we call diagnostic sales. And diagnostic sales are basically intake-based sales. Okay, now, Sandler Submarine is a form of a diagnostic sales process. NEPQ is even more, in my opinion, a much more extreme, a much more in-depth version of a diagnostic sale. And here's the cool thing, guys. The more expensive the product or service or the bigger the problem you're trying to solve, the more diagnostic things will want to become. And you'll generally see that. And then the only time that goes out the door is when we start getting into a massive amount of scale where the constraint is literally the amount of leads that need to be worked because we've got too many. So here's the cool thing about this. This is not about selling people. It is actually about getting the prospect, the customer, the seller, whoever you're on the phone with. The goal is to get them to persuade themselves into purchasing. It is the most ninja framework there is, in my opinion. Chris Voss, very much in a lot of what he does, is kind of trained in this regard. And it's getting the prospect to close themselves and getting them to persuade themselves. And if you guys watch Jeremy Lee Miner, what will happen is very quickly, you guys will start seeing that a lot of the questions and objections that he has, they're quick reframes and redirects that gets the prospect to answer their own objection and get the conversation moving forward. So it's a really cool one. This is extremely tactical. It's not salesy. This, in my opinion, NEPQ, out of the million sales processes that are out there, I like NEPQ the most in terms of a diagnostic sale, especially if you're selling something higher ticket or you're trying to solve a big problem, like a real estate seller who is in a high level of distress. Maybe they're in foreclosure, maybe they're in divorce. those things, I actually like this model so much more. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, let's break this down. So I've got the phases on it. Can we zoom in on phase 1, please? So there's 9 phases to it. We're going to fly through them. I want you guys to understand these. You can go and pay for the trading, or you could just look here and then, go deeper on your own. So phase 1 is a connection phase, guys. Basically, here's the key. A lot of times, this is my issue with things like the Sandler Submarine. When the Sandler Submarine isn't done properly, it becomes a conversation about me and what I can do for you, or about my day, or about all these things. When you're trying to build rapport, the danger part of rapport, Marlon, we've talked about this, we look for easy rapport. Like, oh yeah, I have a dog too. Oh yeah, I like the color blue. And then what ends up happening is we disconnect from a prospect because we're talking too much about ourselves or trying to interject ourselves too much. The cool thing with the phase 1 in any PQ is it's all about making the prospect the star of the show. It's all about getting them to open up and to talk. And Marlon knows this. When you start getting people to talk about themselves, for the rest of the call, they're just going to keep talking. And if you can get them to do that early on and make them feel comfortable in opening up, you can do that early on, the rest of your phone call is going to go so much better. And so 100%, it's all about getting the prospect to open up and allowing us to make them feel comfortable. Okay. So once you get them to open up, you're going to go to phase 2. Now they're in the situation phase. For you guys, this is going to be where the intake really starts, where you start not problem solving, but problem identifying, right? What are you currently doing right now? Right? What is the issue that you have? If it's a seller in foreclosure, let's talk about that. Let's talk about you being behind on payments. Let's talk about why that's happening. Let's talk about why you haven't made a payment in 14 months, right? If you're talking to someone who wants to buy, let's just say their distress point is you're trying to sell them a level of coaching. Okay. Why isn't your business making the money that it wants to make right now? You want to do $500,000 a year, but you're only doing 50,000 a year. Why do you think that is? And so when you start on that, you're gonna go into the situation phase. And the cool thing is this, Marlon talked about this the other time. This is the phase where you shut the hell up and you seek to listen. Because when Marlon said this earlier, a couple of weeks ago, he said that the stuff they give you here is literally going to be your pitch down the road. In any PQ and the next framework we're going to talk about actually go really deep in that. Let's go to phase 3. Oh, there we go. Okay. So boom, problem awareness. So now we know what they're doing, right? We know the state that they're at. Can we really start diving into the problem, right? We've done an intake of where you're at right now. Are you aware of the problem that you're in? And the cool thing about this framework is it's all based on asking the right questions to get the prospect to tell you exactly the problem they're having. And when your prospect, guys, if I tell someone they're in foreclosure, it is almost combative. It is direct. It's like a director. You're being directed. I'm commanding that you're in foreclosure. That is not nearly as powerful versus the opposite, which is if the prospect on their own volition, if I ask them the right question, tells me they're behind 6 months. I'm in foreclosure. I have an auction date in 6 months. The second that you can get a prospect or a seller to acknowledge the problem that they have and they speak it out into the world, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead. Let's go to the next one. Boom. Now we start moving into solution. Guys, notice how we connected with them with some rapport, right? We got them to open up. We got an intake of exactly where they're at right now. What are they doing? This, that, and the other. And then we got them to start affirming what the problem in their life that they're trying to solve is. Only once we've done that sufficiently do we move into solution. The problem with 90% of wholesalers, Marlon, I'm going to tell you right now, and this is why we crush wholesalers in our marketing. Wholesalers don't know how to freaking pitch because they pitch too early. Hey, my name is Sam. I'm an investor. I can buy your house. I can do it cash in 30 days or as soon as you want to close. No agents, no commissions. I'll pay the closing costs, blah, 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 blah. They benefit in solution vomit on the phone to a seller, and you don't even know if they're actually hurting like hell or not. And so what ends up happening is your solution is falling on deaf ears. And guys, we do not get into solution mode not until you have addressed the problems until your seller or your prospect or your customer has addressed the problems. Only when you've done that are you allowed to go into solutions. Okay, let's go. Cool. Phase 5, consequence. Here's the cool thing. This is where we start putting weight on the solution. This is where the seller or the prospect or the customer, they're going to start feeling a little bit tight-chested because they have a problem. You're about to sell them a solution. Maybe that's doing the deal with you and signing a purchase agreement for $500,000, or maybe it's them swiping their credit card for 10 grand. Whatever it is, this is where they start feeling that tightening moment, that hesitation moment, right? Marlon, you've done sales for a very long time now. You know this moment. You know exactly when this moment's going to happen on the call. Right? You know that, cool, I've done the intake, we've gone into the solution, what we can do, this, that, and the other, and then we know when that's going to happen. And you know that moment is a very critical moment, because if you don't navigate it properly, what's going to end up happening is you're going to lose them. You are going to lose them because they're going to back away and they're going to shy in fear, right? So this is an important moment to start putting consequences, not on inaction, not on action, but on inaction. And that's the key. This is something we've talked about very often in the past. It's people don't place enough consequences. Like, what is the consequence of your inaction? If you're in foreclosure, it's you will lose the home. It'll be foreclosed on. Your credit's going to be destroyed. And you're going to have a really hard time even getting a place to rent. That is the consequence of your inaction. And if you shy away from the solutions that we can provide you, that is what's going to happen. This is a very key phase, guys, because you need to understand how to get through to this. Because if you don't navigate this right, they will flee. People, they hesitate. When they know they've been given a solution, they start getting that kind of, that internal wall will go up where they're like, oh my God, now it's time for me to pull out the credit card. Now it's time for me to sign something. I'm a little bit more worried, right? This is how you keep them on the hook. Once you've done this, right? And here's the key, guys. You get them every step of the way with any PQ, you get them to address the consequence. Hey, Kevin, you're in foreclosure, right? I think you told Nick you're in foreclosure. I know you said your auction date's coming up on 30 days from now. Let's just say we're not a fit for you. Let's just say the solutions that we went over won't work for you. What's going to happen if you can't work with us or you don't work us and we're out of the picture? What do you think is going to happen? And then Kevin's going to say, well, shit, I'm going to lose my home in 30 days. Cool. Now you have a consequence of them not doing business with you. And the very cool thing about that, guys, getting them to say it, getting them to vocalize it is when you get all of the power in your negotiation. So once you've done that, we're going to move to phase 6. Let's scoot over a little bit. And Marlon, chip in if you want to at any point, man.
Yeah, man, dude, you're on a roll, bro. I'm letting you go.
Okay. So phase 6, guys, once you've gotten the prospect or the seller to start affirming the consequence of their inaction, not of their action, but their inaction. And what is the inaction that you are labeling? Not working with you. Not working with you to solve the problem. What happens if the problem keeps going and I'm not there to save you through it, right? Something bad will happen. And as soon as the seller says that, guess what? Your standing in that phone call, in that sales process, just went through the roof. Now it's time to present, right, your specific solution. I know it's called a transition phase, but it's going to be very much more in-depth and intensive to the product or the offering that you specifically have. And in the world of, remember that spectrum I talked about where you have transactional on one side and then diagnostic on the other. This is the cool thing is the more diagnostic you are, this is where you become much more custom in your presentations. Let's go up. Okay, so the presentation, right? These all kind of come together. So this is it with your offer or your pitch or your solution that you have for them, right? Whether it's a 30-day close or this price for their home, or it's a coaching product with this level of support and ecosystem and community and blah, 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 blah. Whatever that tailored answer is, or potentially not even non-tailored, but usually better for tailored, right? Then you're going to start going to the presentation. And here's the key. Every step of the way, you want them to affirm or commit or do something that showcases that they are involved and they like this plan. These are called micro commitments. And very often these things can be as small as, when you get here, let's see that last line, it says get commitment. It can be as small as something like, does that sound good for you? Would you be opposed to that? They're going to say no, because people always, if you say, do you want to do this? It's a little direct. It's a little direct, and they will feel pressure. But if you say, are you opposed to that? If I can get you, if I'm a coach, right? Pretend I'm a coach here. If I can mentor you for 6 months and hold your hand once a week for an hour each time, and I can show you every step of the way, right? And I can basically guarantee that I'm going to be able to put you in a position to win. Would you be opposed to that? No. Hell no. But if I say, are you ready to do business with me? Or I say something very direct, they will definitely pull away. And so getting them to have a micro commitment or even a more firm commitment at this point is going to be critical to wrapping up. So let's go up and let's finish up the last ones. We've got 2 more. Okay, boom. Then you're going to go for the hard commitment, right? Helps them commit and takes them the next step to purchase your solution. And then for you real estate wholesalers, right, that's not going to be a purchase. It is going to be them signing the purchase agreement, right? If they're a seller selling to you and you're wholesaling. And the fun fact is this, NEPQ for you wholesalers will actually work on the back end just as well as it does with the prospect, the seller. It'll also help you sell the deal to a flipper. The solution that you're selling to your flipper is what? A house that has tremendous value add opportunity that's going to make them $80,000 in the back end of the flip. And just with the NEPQ framework, you can apply it to flipping just as well. And a lot of people miss that. And I'm telling you guys right now, I think the better teams operate. Here's the reality of wholesale. Be very honest with you guys. Wholesalers suck at sales across the board. They follow a crappy script that is usually generated that they got for free off of some guru's lead magnet funnel. And it's not tailored. It has very little psychology behind it. But it's really basic and it's not good. It's okay to be basic, but if it's basic and it sucks, horrible. They're going to be outperformed by guys using Sandler, okay? And then the Sandler guys are going to be outperformed by guys using NEPQ. And fun fact, not an affiliate. I've no push here on that. But NEPQ, they actually have launched. Jeremy Lee Miner has launched a specific model of this to real estate investing. And so if you're a real estate wholesaler or you're a flipper, you're doing direct to seller acquisitions, they've actually tailored their entire process to talking to distressed sellers. So you can look into that. But let's move on to the next one. I like NEPQ, guys, but you guys have seen it. It is a more advanced process. And I'm dumbing it down. I'm simplifying it like hell. When you go through the training, you'll actually be shocked at how much NLP they use, which stands for neuro-linguistic programming, which is basically the psychology of what words, how to say them, how to use them, when to say them at the right time to start altering someone's brain chemistry so they actually work with us the way that we want them to. Mirroring, if you guys are familiar with like that sales technique, mirroring is NLP. And so NEPQ, this framework, takes that to a whole other level. Now, here's the thing. At scale, you will have a hard time with this. Why? Because it's going to be harder and harder and harder for you to find talent that you can give this to, who can execute on it on a very high level, who doesn't leave you in 6 months. The problem with the best sales guys is they will come in, they will crush it, they'll make a ton of money, and then they're off to the next shiny object, or they're off to do it on their own. If you want to scale big and you want predictability in your business, you need predictability in your workforce. That's going to come not by complicating things, it's going to come by simplifying. So I like NEPQ. I think you can very much get to low 7 figures with it. But at a certain point, when you're producing so many opportunities and so many at-bats, we need to make things more concise and we need to simplify them. So we're going to move to the next one. Let's go for it. Boom. Okay, guys, this is the Closer framework. Okay, Closer is an acronym, and it's by Lord Emperor Hormozi, aka Buff Business Jesus, as me and Marlon like to call him. Did he invent it? I'm pretty sure. He may have not. I don't know, but I know no one does it better than him in all of his businesses. And I don't think they utilize the Closer framework in every portfolio business, right? Because depending on the industry, depending on the niche, you don't want to have maybe a one size fits all. Maybe you're in an industry where the NEPQ model works better than the Closer framework. But here's the thing, and I've given this a lot of thought, guys. I've actually been on the phone as a prospect with the acquisitions.com team, okay, for their workshop, which costs thousands of dollars. And here's the cool thing. I could sense within 30 seconds that this is the exact framework that the guy on the other side of the phone was using. And to Marlon's point earlier, no, I hope that guy doesn't see it. I don't think that guy was great. His individual innate talent sucked. I'd probably put him out as like a C player at best. But the framework followed over enough volume and across enough at-bats will 1,000% work. It's why Alex Hormozi owns companies that are worth 500 million plus. So it is perfect for traditional product and sales, product services, okay? And this is why we have like half our audience is very real estate oriented. I think also the other half is very business oriented, or they're in real estate right now and they want to go into bigger businesses and sell things, right? And they want to go big, make tons and tons of money. And you know that real estate is not a great business to get rich in. And so when you start getting away from real estate diagnostic sales, right? Because in real estate, foreclosure, probate, divorce, those high levels of distress, highly nuanced conversations, they are diagnostic sales. When you start going to product sales and you're selling, a physical good, or you've got a brick and mortar location, or you're selling, a gym membership or a coaching program, right? It's a lot simpler. You don't need to go through all those steps anymore. It's a lot simpler of a service, of a product. And so you need a simpler process to work at scale so it's repeatable. I think the closer framework, out of everything I've seen, guys, truly, I think the closer framework is the most applicable to the vast majority of businesses in products and services that I've seen. I think any PQ may work if you're selling something for $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, and that's your price point. So then you need to go extremely nuanced, extremely ninja with your sales tactics. But I think for the vast majority of businesses and products and services, the closer framework, in my opinion, it's like the one that I would stamp my approval on. And fun fact, we're going to be using this in a lot of my portfolio businesses as we grow our sales teams. Because the more we grow our teams, right, we have more labor, but the individual talent tends to drop. So we need something that's easier for them to adopt. And most importantly, for me as a business owner and for my sales directors, my sales team managers, for them to be able to hold people accountable to. It is extremely hard for a sales director to hold someone accountable to nuanced neuro-linguistic programming techniques. Like, that is a very difficult thing to check the box for, especially if you've got 10 guys you need to go through call reviews to check if they're doing the most advanced strategies possible. Very difficult. In most businesses, you'll find that it's actually easier just to spend more money, generate more leads, simplify the process so we can check the boxes and be more efficient logistically. Trust me, no one goes the opposite way than that. So in my opinion, this is the key with the closer framework, and this is why I love it. It's the easiest one of these three to train other people on and hold them accountable to. It is by far the easiest one. And this is the cool thing. The narrower the avatar, the prospect, the seller, the customer that you're talking to, the more repeatable this is. If you're trying to sell a Snickers bar, what's the problem that person has? They're just hungry. They just have a sugar craving. That's it, right? But if your avatar is, let's say, someone who is ultra wealthy and you're selling them charters for a private jet, that is a very unique avatar. And you can create a very specific, very repeatable closer framework to target it. And that's what a lot of people sleep on. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. Anthony, yeah, I've never seen anyone call him Buff Business Jesus besides me, but I don't want to take too much credit for that. So I'm going to break it down for you guys. It is an acronym and we've got like 10, 12 minutes. Yeah, we got like 15 minutes left. Okay. So start with the C. You need to clarify their purpose. Okay. And guys, I said this 2 weeks ago. A lot of these frameworks from a 10,000 foot zoom back all look the same. They all achieve the same thing. The question is, how deep are we going to go? How much talent are we going to bring through our process into it? Or can we simplify and just move on to something when we've checked a certain box? So the C stands for clarify their purpose. You need to understand what their goals are. That's it. The prospect, the seller, the person in foreclosure, the person divorced, the person who's going through a probate. You need to understand from them. And again, just like any PQ, you want them to tell you what their goals are. Clarify their purpose in this moment with you. Why are you here? What do you need? What do you want? What does your perfect world kind of look like? And then here's the cool thing. In that process, they at some point will tell you the constraint they have. And if they haven't, you will ask, great, what do you think is stopping you from getting to that goal? And then they're going to tell you, and that's going to move you to L. Scroll down a little bit. And then L is going to be to label their problem. Great. Okay. So I'll be very, okay. I have a buddy and I actually helped him understand this. I have a buddy who I'm consulting, not for equity or anything like that, not paid. He's a friend of mine and he's trying to scale his business. And I was consulting on his constraint that he has in his business right now. The constraint that he has in his business is his business sales process is extremely advanced because he's selling a very advanced product service. It's very, very advanced. And the problem that he's going to run into is what? Is that it's harder for him to train new sales guys on this product and service because the product is so freaking advanced. It's so nuanced. It's so high level. And the client avatar they deal with, they're not newbies off the street who don't know anything. They're people who are already making millions. And the problem with people who are making millions in business, you can't bullshit them. You actually have to be able to speak on their level to gain their respect as an authority. And so I said, cool. What's the problem that he has? I'm going to label it. The problem you have is being able to attract and train a high degree of talent on the product and service that you have. That's it. You just got to label it. You got to let them know exactly what that is. And the second that you label it, it'll stand out in their head. And the cool thing is you can bring that label up. You're going to take that label, you're going to put it in their face, and then you're going to put it in your back pocket. So when you come back for the close later, you're going to bring that label up in your solution. Okay. Once you've labeled the specific problem, the constraint, the things that are stopping them from hitting their goal, what are you going to do? You're going to go into overview the past pain, right? We're going to talk about the challenges they've had related to that problem. Well, guys, anytime anyone's had a constraint in life, in business especially, they've tried to solve it at some point. They have. Before they talk to you, trust me, you're not the first person they've talked to. It's never the case you're the first person they've ever talked to in trying to solve the problem that they have. They've done it before. They've run into brick walls. They've run into obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And you want to hit that with them because you want to remind them that everywhere else they went to solve it didn't work. Fun fact, you can attach a little label on it. Okay. You're going to overview. And then what's going to happen once you do that is the cool thing is this. It didn't work with them. It didn't work with them. It didn't work with them. I knew it wouldn't because we see this all the time. But everyone who comes to us, they tried the same things that you did, but 100% it works with us. We're actually the pros at it. I'm so sorry you had to go through all those other idiots, but you're finally here with the pros. We're going to be able to take care of you. And then you move into the solution presentation. If you guys notice from any PQ, is this more complex or is it simpler? It's way simpler. It's way more compact. It's way more concise. Are we leaving some money on the table by not spending an extra hour on the phone doing all of the neuro-linguistic programming techniques? Yes. It doesn't matter because your closers will get on the phone, off the phone, onto the next call, as long as you can keep putting leads on the table. This is how you unlock mass scale and repeatability. Once you've labeled their problem and then you've overviewed all the issues they've had in the past, now it's time to sell them the vacation, sell them the dream, right? Sell them the perfect world where they get the goal. And here's the caveat. It's directly correlated to them buying your solution. Whether it's a seller who's in foreclosure and they have no equity, Marlon, when someone's in foreclosure and they have an auction date coming up in 60 days, right? And they have no equity, can they list on market?
No. I mean, they can if they want to come out of pocket to sell.
Yeah, they've tried. They've talked to an agent. And once the agent finds out that they have no equity, they find out they've already done that. See, I've labeled that you're in foreclosure. I've labeled that you have an auction date coming up. I've overviewed the past issues that you've run into, which is going to be the fact that you went and talked to agents, you tried to handle it, but you found out you have no equity, so it doesn't work with them. Well, guess what? I've talked to 50 other sellers this week who are in the exact same situation as you, and it didn't work for them either until they talked to me. And I'm going to be in a position where I can tee up my solution where, hey, if we can save you from foreclosure and save you from credit disaster, and we don't have to get your property foreclosed on, and hell, I can help you even rebuild your credit over the next couple of years, and I can put some money in your pocket. That's your end goal, right? And then for all of you people who are more advanced, you know that my pitch is going to be subject to. My solution is the vacation. How does that sound? Would you be opposed to that? Guys, would you be opposed to that as one of the most gangster lines in sales, that you don't realize how many micro commitments you can get? Another one that's really phenomenal is the question, sound fair? If I can get you $5,000 and make sure that you don't get foreclosed on and you don't lose your home and you don't have a problem renting out your stuff, you opposed to that? No? Cool. Sound fair? Cool. The amount of micro commitments you will get is insane. And the key is to say it with certain tonality, inflections in your voices. That's cool. You're going to start selling them vacation. Then the vacation is what? Subject to, right? If it's a homeowner in foreclosure with no equity. Cool. Every time you give someone a solution, inherently, innately, it's the human response for them to start looking for red flags. What's up to? It's going to be, well, what about the loan staying in my name? What about am I still on the hook? What if the bank calls it due? All these things that are immediately going to start coming to them right after they've heard your vacation. Within 30 seconds of them hearing your vacation, loving it, seeing themselves on a beach, visualizing that perfect world, reality will start setting in, and then objections will naturally come. And here's the key, guys. Marlon, have you ever seen someone, they say they got this amazing verbal confirmation from a seller, and you look at the sales call and it was 2.5 minutes long, and the seller just said, yeah, cool, all good, let's do it, 100%, let's do it. And they never had an objection. That's a huge red flag. Huge red flag. Either the seller's bullshitting you, or they didn't understand anything that was happening, or something else. And those deals never work out. Rational people who are making decisions in life will always have an objection to conquer. If they don't understand it, and they're just saying yes to things. And trust me, it will. I've never closed a deal. Guys, we've closed over 350 deals now. 350 deals closed in real estate alone. And I've closed I think we're well over 2,000 transactions in private businesses now. And I've never had something go that smooth. And if there ever is, we know something, we missed a step. We didn't identify something, something's wrong, or there's ignorance that we need to counter. So once you sell them vacation, you're going to explain away their concerns, right? So they're naturally going to have these objections. They're going to have these concerns. It's on you in a closer framework. See, in an NEPQ, we're going to ninja it, and we're going to have them basically confront their objections, think things through with some critical questions, get them to answer their objections, and then recommit. And in closer framework, we're just going to get out ahead of it, right? Hey, I know that you're probably going to be worried about whether or not we can deliver, right? Let's say I'm selling fitness, I'm selling a gym membership. I know you're worried that if you give me this $500 for the next 3 months of private training, that you may not get the results you want. And then in the closer framework, what I do is I take a step back and I point at testimonies on the wall, before and afters. Well, here's Mary, who did the same program and she lost 30 pounds. Well, here's Dave, who, paid the same amount of money and he lost 40 pounds. What you're going to do is you're going to find a way to counter the objection. Here's the thing. You don't have the prospect handle the objection. You don't reverse engineer, reverse psychology them to answer it. You just go out and assert it over them. Here's the thing, guys. This is my one, I would say this is, in my opinion, it's not as effective in overcoming objections as NEPQ is. But again, at a massive scale, this is much more repeatable. Okay, much more repeatable. Once they've done that, once you've conquered the objections, once you've overlaid that the obstacle is not going to be applicable to them based on your solution, you're then getting the commitment, you're then getting them buying the solution, and then we move on to the last phase, which is reinforcing the decision that they're making to work with you. Okay. This is like post-close. It's kind of like a post-close confirmation. And so they've given you the verbal. We know it's a solution that works for them. Now we just got to put some extra love and care on it. This is how we make sure that, once they get off the phone call, they don't, their head doesn't touch the pillow at night and think that they start freaking out because they made all the wrong decisions. This is where we start reiterating. And here's the cool thing. And I know this because the guy was literally doing this to me on the acquisitions.com workshop call when he was trying to sell me on their 2-day workshop. And he addressed all the things. Where are you at in your business? What revenue are you doing? What's your team look like? This, that, and the other. What constraints are you having? He labeled it right then and there, our very specific constraint. And I gave it to him and he labeled it. And he's like, well, cool. Yeah, 100%. At our workshop, we're actually going to have, dedicated guys who manage these part of Alex and Layla's portfolio. And they actually manage that specific side, a system side, a sales side, a fulfillment side. And they're actually doing that for $500 million of enterprise value businesses. That'll work for you. Like they do it for them. I'm sure it'll work for you. And then he moves on to the next thing and the next thing. And when I said eventually, I'm like, yeah, dude, we're in. I think it makes a lot of sense for us. You know what he did? It was interesting. He didn't say, send me your credit card. He actually, because I realized we were at the E. I didn't have concerns. I really didn't. We skipped that. You know what he still did? He's like, you don't have concerns? Cool. He still went to the reinforcement side. Even though I said I was good to go. And in the reinforcement, he summarized the whole thing from the top. And in the reinforcement side, he basically summarized the entire closer framework, right? Where are we at? Labeled the problem, the past objections that we've had, the past obstacles that we've run into. And then he went that their solution was going to be the biggest thing. And it was like clockwork seeing it happen. And if you guys don't believe me, I don't want you guys to go waste acquisition.com's team. If you guys are interested in going to the workshop and it actually is a fit for you and you know that, go and have a call with their team. Play dumb. I swear to God, you will be like, holy shit, they're on the C. They're on the L. Okay, we're in the S section. They're selling me the vacation right now. And eventually they will reinforce the label. And then here's the cool thing. Remember I said, when you label the problem, you're going to put it in your back pocket and bring it out later. He did that at the end. Then he's like, cool. Are you in front of a computer? Which means he's going for the credit card push. So I think we crushed it on time today. Holy crap.
Dude, you killed it, man. I was just sitting down taking notes. This was a Samsung special.
Well, it's cool because I tend to not like talking about sales because I generally, even though like marketing and sales are my big thing, guys, I don't like talking about sales. I hate managing sales teams. I'm really good at it. I hate doing it. I don't know why. I think I like marketing a little bit easier. It's a little bit more systems and processes and data driven. I think there's so much more nuance and innate training and talent that's involved in sales. So I tend to not like talking about it, but I think it was important for people to do that. And guys, like truly, that closer framework out of the three that we talked about, Sandler, NEPQ, and closer, the closer framework is, I would say, the lowest level in talent required. It is the lowest level in neuro-linguistic programming. But fun fact, I've seen a framework like that or that specific framework used in every business that I've ever seen that does over $1 million a month. They're all using something that simple, or either they're using that or something as simple as that one. And so as you grow your business and as you grow your team, your sales process and framework has to become more concise. Why? Are you going to leave money on the table? 1,000% you are. But your goal is to have a team perform. And you can't do that without having accountability and a check the box system. And so guys, we're going to talk about this on the next signature masterclass, which is going to be 5+ hours. It's actually going to be probably the longest one that I'll ever do, which I'm like kind of dreading in that regard. But we're going to go over exactly how to build a sales team, but based on the industry, the niche, the amount of people, and the revenue that you want to hit, exactly which process. And this is YouTube. This is all YouTube free stuff. So we're generally a little bit more kind of broad with this stuff. On that training, we'll go so freaking deep on this stuff and how to crush at the highest levels. But guys, I hope that was valuable for you guys. Yeah, and I just want no one to ever ask me what script we use again, because I'm gonna literally just send them back to these 2 videos.
I love
Mark.
Dude, you freaking crushed tonight. Great freaking episode. Guys, you know what to do. If you got value from this, you can show your thanks by first off hitting the like button. That's one of the greatest things you could do when you're watching these videos and you're getting value. And then sharing this out with somebody else. I know a lot of you're in community, you're working with other people who are getting started, who need this sort of advice. They're paying thousands and thousands of dollars from mentors and they're still not learning this. That's why we try and we come here to fill in the gap. Right. And so I think Sam not only filled in the gap, he filled in the craters, he filled in the holes, he filled in, dude, like you filled the ocean that people had in their lives. So amazing stuff. You know, it's good stuff when you get a closer like Jeff Smith coming on saying amazing stuff. So make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're sharing this video out with a friend. Next week, we'll be back for a signature episode. I believe next week we're doing quarter for quarter.
Yeah, guys, really quickly, everyone that's here, next week we are doing one of our all-time favorite things that everyone loves, and it's called Quarter for the Quarter. Marlon's made $250,000 in a quarter. Basically, what does that mean? We're going to show you how to reverse engineer your business and how to do minimum $250,000 in a quarter of the year, 3 months. So 2025 just started and you've never hit a quarter for a quarter yet. We're going to show you exactly what it looks like. We're going to take out all the guesswork. It's going to be one of the best, most tactical things that we do. And I'm going to show you how in my business, how I'll use the tool. It's called a killer KPI tool. I'm going to show you exactly how to use that tool to set a goal and how exactly to reverse engineer. So you'll know exactly how many leads you need to generate, exactly how much it's going to cost, exactly how long it's going to be, exactly how many people it's going to take to a scientific decimal point. And the cool thing about that one, so we're not even done there yet, bro. I'm super stoked about that one, but I'm even more stoked about the week after because, guys, we haven't had a special guest on Think Big in well over a year, maybe a year and a half. Here's the cool thing. The guest that we're going to bring on is someone that I have run into in the highest level masterminds in this industry. Someone that if you're in newbie communities or you're communities that are just generally lower level, you'll probably never run into this person. This person is one of the highest level operators I've personally met in a very long time. Epic human being, and their strategy for investing is the most niche, nuanced ninja thing that I've probably ever seen. It's like right up there with some of the ninja stuff that Pace Morby does. So I'm excited for that. It's our first special guest episode in a very long time. We're going to bring in a super high 7-figure earner. I'm super stoked on that one. So guys, we'll see you next week.
Yo, love you guys. Peace out.